Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Corner Flag Talk podcast. It's your boy John, and we are here to look back on the first weekend of the 2025-26 season. And to do so with me, we have a rotated cast. I just want to say, Brandon is not here 2 out of 2 weeks so far for the season. So Ollie will let him know about that. But I have Virgil here with me. Uzi, was it good, my guy?
Yeah, and I realized that too. There's a little pattern there going with Brandon.
Then we have making appearances in 2 weeks. We have the Keel. The Keel
Come
was it
on.
good?
Yeah. See, last season, my hamstring now, boy. But now, I fit I got a new doctor and thing, and I should be having more appearances this season.
And just like how, for years, Fergie would have the reliables to call upon when key critical moments, we bring in Aidan from the Wilderness. Aidan, was it good, my guy? Welcome to the new season.
We're going to call me Solskjaer off the bench.
Hey, that's what we're talking about.
Happy
And
to
so,
be
guys,
back.
we're gonna do our usual roundup. What we also gonna do is we're gonna do a game today. If you're listening to this, the audio version. If you're on the visuals, if you're on the YouTube, we will do the game for you all on Wednesday. So you'll have to wait till Wednesday if you want to see the videos version of it. But we'll have the audio version of it included on Monday. But if you want to actually see what we're doing, you're gonna have to wait until Wednesday. It'll take a little time for me to edit it. But stay tuned for that. However, we're gonna go through this weekend's results, and I don't think it's anywhere better to start. And we actually start with the first game of the weekend, which was Liverpool versus Bournemouth. And I mean, it was the opener that I think we all would have wanted to see. At one point, it was looking like it was going to run away in one direction for Liverpool. And then Bournemouth fought back until a late winner, and Liverpool really showcasing their attackers. So, Aidan, if you got to watch this game, why don't you just give me like a synopsis of what you took away from it, right?
I managed to catch it. And my main takeaway is that Liverpool fans, boy, I don't feel they'll be breathing easy this season with this kind of chaotic football they seem to be playing. That being said, as you pointed out, the wide array of attack was on full show. It was an impressive performance by most of their attacking players, minus one of the debutants, who I'm sure you'll get into. But all in all, I think they deserve the win. They had a scare there. Big up Bournemouth for losing a lot of key players and managing to. That shows how well their system works. Still managing to put out a performance. But I think Liverpool just on the day, the Anfield atmosphere, the relentless kind of attack was just a little too much. And to me, it also had some luck into that case of goal. Probably 8 out of 10 times the defender would head that out.
And not clash into each other, which was really something else, But the kill, I know Frimpong was not on the field when the goals did score, but I know you went into the season with some defensive concerns for Liverpool. This is 2 games in a row, if you're counting Community Shield, that they conceded 2 goals. I am assuming those concerns kind of still stay with you for now, yeah?
Yeah, actually, I got confirmation that Liverpool gonna have a very long season because I would have mentioned it before. Liverpool is gonna consider a lot of counter-attacking goals this season, and both of the goals that they conceded were on the counter-attack. Now, you can put it down to individual error, you can put it down to the system, but however they set up right now, it's not conducive to transition defense that well. So I'm seeing Liverpool gonna have to outscore a lot. I see Liverpool gonna have to come back a lot because when they lose the ball, they look. I'm not gonna say they look awful, but they look very vulnerable. Almost every single time the team win back the ball from them and able to transition fast.
Would you all say that this is something that could get better over time as Kirkes and Frimpong? Because again, they wasn't even on the field when this happened, mind you.
Yeah.
Like, I do think, if we are all being honest, that those subs were made as like defensive subs. So like Endo come on for Frimpong and Robertson was supposed to be like the defensive version to Kirkes. But they were still open at the back. And to me, what it more felt like was, at first, Bournemouth was just being blown away by, this is Liverpool. We lost these players. But as a bit of self-belief started creeping into them, it's how they got back in the game. And I mean, absolutely being led by Antoine Semenyo, who scored 2 fantastic goals, especially the second one was such owning the moment, But like, do you all think this is something that could improve as the players get to understand what Klopp what sort of trying to do this season? That's open to anybody if you all think
Yeah,
that.
no, because I feel like how we looking at it. We could say that there was a point when they were up that there's a little bit of relaxation there that the manager made those changes, because I feel like we all expected it to swing in one way.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the Premier League, carry counter teams like Bournemouth, especially with that pace, because I feel like the problems that Liverpool had from last season, we still saw it on display. But the way that the scoreline looked after a while, it seemed that there was a problem that was going to just be swept away. The scoreline was just going to reflect just solely dominant performance. But I feel like over time, Slot will understand if you have to give credit to that his 2 new signings in the defense, they technically helped and kept a clean sheet when they were on the field. So you could see what he wants out of his defense, he could get it there, and just to fine tune those little errors.
Obviously, we have a bunch of Premier League debutants for Liverpool on display this week. I mean, we just mentioned Cookers and Frimpong. I think Cookers struggled a little bit in the game, honestly. I actually think Frimpong had a better game of the two while the two were on the field, which I think was probably a bit unexpected given that Cookers are accustomed to the league. But I guess it's a bit emotional for him. I guess he decided he just come from to probably felt a bit of pressure to perform. And obviously, Anton Semenyo is not an easy customer. But the man that I really want to put in the highlight is Hugo Ekitike. And again, the floor is just open for anybody with what they wanted to say, what they observe. Obviously, he scored the first goal of the Premier League season, assisted Gakpo, and I think that particular period is something that a lot of us have been highlighting, because he's somebody who does like to lean left, allow the left winger to kind of come inside, similar to how him and Marmoush did it over at Frankfurt, and maybe him and Gakpo could get a little partnership bud in there. So, yeah, floor is open. What do you all thought about Ekitike's debut?
Yeah, because that's honestly one thing focusing. The whole headlines really is focusing on Isaac looking to come into the squad. But I feel the way that how that team play, we know Salah's a guaranteed, but looking at the way Gakpo and Ekitike were able to play, I feel that is honestly going to be a headache for Slot to try and find a way to throw Isaac in, because it's not really something easy to say you'll just bench a Frenchman, because the way that he's playing, surprisingly, like from his physical, from like how he's built, I really cannot see a weakness to his game right now, and to him to slot into this Liverpool team and just so effortlessly, I feel like out of that front three, he's like the danger man.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead.
I think what was also surprising was how fast he was. That had me off guard. I didn't think he was that fast, to be honest with you. But that's what Poole, I mean, they had that with Darwin before. But with Ekitike, is a whole different dynamic now, where he can hold up the ball as well, not just run behind. And he's a real good link player, as you say with Gakpo.
Yeah.
So I think he had real techers for a big man, very kind of Crouch-esque in the kind of close control, but he fast. And I mean, he had a perfect game in my opinion. It's just the sample size is low so far, but I think Poole, they have reason to be hopeful when it comes to their new number 9.
Yeah, kind of echoing the sentiments of you guys. Ekitike, he looked very natural playing. I just studying, like, if they decide, okay, we're actually going to go for Isak, are they going to try to shoe on him left? Because Gakpo look really good too. Like, but are they? But again, it's a nice headache to have for if he is on your slot. Ekitike look very natural in the. That Isak like really Anthony look really good.
Yeah, and like I think, like, obviously we'll talk about Gyökeres and Arsenal later, but like when we saw some like the heavy touches that Gyökeres took in that game, and when you compare the Ekitike, everything is so much more clean and polished, because he's a much more technical player. He's a better dribbler and stuff, and you saw how that did help bring others into play, like how he did with Gakpo, even Wirtz a few times. And you mentioned Isak there, and I was gonna ask then, like, does this probably like put a little reassurance that if they doesn't get Isak over the line, that they do already have the firepower that they need, right? And the first thing, none of us here Liverpool fans, we all here probably don't want to see Liverpool not have a good season. The first thing people are gonna say is that we're gonna say, oh, well, you just don't want Isak to come, or you don't want Isak to be there. But like, I think that if it is that you answer the Isak question with your response of, oh, you'll be a fool to turn down Isak, I think that only applies if you genuinely believe that like every single need that Liverpool could possibly have, the finances is there to address every single possible need. But that is a career mode scenario, that's a dream scenario. You know, when it is that we are here talking about they still need a centre back to be signed, that there's possibly a midfield gap there because outside of Gavin, they don't really have the legs there to midfield, then I think it's a feasible conversation to have. Even more so when you look at the fact that Ekitike seems to be assimilated to the Premier League so well off the rip, you know? And so then now somebody says, like, you know, but how you get to the Isak, you know, obviously Isak is a better player than Ekitike is now. I just think like there's a reasonable conversation to be had that like instead of what looks like they're gonna have to spend 130, 140 on a position that they might get 6 to 8 more goals out of compared to what Ekitike looks set to do now. And I think it's a fair conversation to just ask maybe they could split their funds across 2 other positions, you know?
I hear that, but what I would say too is that I genuinely think that they're planning for Salah not going to be there anymore. So
Right, yeah.
it makes sense to them. Hey, if this man wants to leave, we could get him right now. Why wait? Let me get him in, integrate him into the team of the cases. So we know we have these goals. And when Salah eventually leaves, however he decides to go, we still know, hey, we have the firepower in the club already, and we don't have to go and war 3, 4, 5 different clubs for one of the best strikers in the world.
That's true. And I mean, something that Yuan has pointed out over and over is like there is no salary replacement on the market. They are like not just salary replacement, but like of like the top right wingers in the world, there's Salah, there's Yamal, there's Saka, and then after that, like there's a lot of players that are proven to come up to that level, and Wemo being one of them. But like there's not much that over like a couple of years sample or on the biggest stage that's really there to say like, okay, well, let me go and just get direct right wing replacement, you know? And maybe not necessarily Moneyball, but maybe it is trying to replace his goals, but just in a different way by getting Isak and Ekitike. And you never know, we might see a system change. Slot was somebody who was actually partial to that at the back a few times in Holland. So, you know, you never know. You never know, we might see that. Anything else on Liverpool you guys want to mention before we move on? Again, Semenyo was absolutely fantastic as well. I am so bothered that he signed that new contract because I really could have done with somebody like him at my club, but it is what it is.
I think the thing I wanted to mention is Wood's performance. I mean, it was his game, but I did find he looked off the pace, and he had signed for some time now, so he had the benefit of a fairly full preseason, I assume. So yeah. I expected more from him off the bat. I understand there's a whole new dynamic, and that price tag you're never gonna live down that kind of pressure. But I expected more from him. I find like he was outshone by even Szoboszlai and his other teammates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's unfair to say, and not that I think that he was bad. I don't think he was bad. I just think like, look, the reality is you cost upward of 70, 80 million in this league. There's going to be expectation that you hit the ground running when you land. You know, and I personally do not think that's unfair. Across the board, any team, you cost that money, there's that expectation, right? I just think too that with Liverpool that there is still a readjustment from not just last year, but for years at Liverpool, where the reality is the midfield was deferred past in the approach going forward. It was so much about the right side and everything with the wings. You know, for years it was Robbo and Trent supporting Mane and Salah, and Firmino being the link player amongst them. But midfield was surpassed. Even last year, you know, we highlight that Szoboszlai had a good season, McAllister had a great season, Graven had a great season, but none of it was from any of them being a focal point going forward. I think Wirtz introduces the dynamic that he has to be the focal point, and I think that there is some adjustment from the team look, we have a 10 to look for. We have to look for the 10 instead of bypassing the midfield. And that might take some time for everybody to get accustomed to, you know. Looking forward a little bit, they have Newcastle next, which is ironically the team we're going to talk about next. But Newcastle next, Arsenal after that. Newcastle is away, Arsenal is at home. I think that the defensive problems might continue, but I mean, look, the reality is I had Liverpool first, and a part of it just because even with whatever defensive issues they have, I just think the firepower is just there to get them. Like, let's be like, my truth is that next week they're gonna go to Newcastle, and I cannot see an Isak less Newcastle outscore this Liverpool side. I find that hard to believe. But I'll say this now, so in case next week it pads out a little bit, is that if there's one thing Newcastle love to do is play on emotions. And them hate Liverpool right now. They abhorrently hate that club right now. And if there's one team like to use emotions and fuel themselves, might be them to try and get a result next week. So we'll see. But Newcastle is up next, and like I said, they were Isak less this weekend. And not just Isak less, but they were striker less. And I, like many of y'all here, I know many listeners who are football junkies, we got about 7:30 to watch this game. And Newcastle actually played fairly good, but they just completely lacked that focal point in the team. And so, like, do you all, I don't really have much to add on this. We could brush past this match fairly quickly. Unfortunately, it wasn't that eventful. But do you all see Isak ever coming back to the fold, or this is just something that's going on, just keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse?
Yeah, at first, this whole Isak link up, I always thought this was just something to just kind of ramp up the contract and just earn a little more money. But it really seems that Isak really don't want to be at Newcastle, and it's so strange because I feel like the Newcastle want to build this team around Isak, and that was the main focal point. So they were kind of like blindsided going into this season, seeing that their main man wanted to just leave. Yeah. But yeah, I honestly can't see a solution other than Isak going Liverpool, and I feel like whatever comes out of that and how much they do manage to get from the player, Newcastle then have to go into the market and try and recover fast, because from the game, as we mentioned, they didn't play too bad, but I feel like Newcastle fans would be crying out for Isak to just make a U-turn and come back, because they were missing something clearly.
Then I'm ask the question then. Do you all feel, and like just being objective, let me say it was all your club trying to sign Isak, do you all think Isak's behavior has been justified? Because the truth is, my disposition is it hasn't. And this has, again, nothing to do with Liverpool whatsoever. My opinion is this man signed a 6-year deal with 10th place Newcastle, right? They were 10th this season that he signed for them. Whoever is your agent, bro, you are poorly advised to not have, after 3 years, have some kind of release clause. Because, like, who is you to so trust Newcastle was going to go on this upward trajectory and want to end up winning the league in your time there? Like, how it is that you didn't have a plan B somewhere hidden in this contract, that at some point, that some team could have come and forget what Newcastle want, they could have get you out there if they was willing to pay the price? That is on you and your team. Now, we all watch football a long time. We've all seen clubs price players out of moves. I do not believe that asking 130 million for one of the top 5 strikers in the world with 3 years left on his deal is unfair to ask. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. And I think Newcastle are well within their rights to dig their heels in and ask for the price that they are. And it's one Isak to me, for one, burden this bridge, but two, for signing a deal this long without some kind of escape route out it. I think it's more on him. So tell me what you all think, if you all think his behavior is justified or not.
I don't think so. As in, I fully agree with what you're saying there. I think the situation is different. If, like with the Gyökeres situation, where he had a gentleman's agreement that he would go for X amount, and they didn't want on it. So I can understand that situation, again, Vex, but this move seemed to come out of the blue this summer. And to push it at this juncture without allowing the club enough time now to get any replacement, I think his behavior is uncalled for. Mind you, if I were Newcastle, I don't see when next year we'll get this kind of money for a player, though. I would have sold him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just if you want to go, sell him, go and buy 2 strikers with that money. But I guess the club probably trying to make a statement too that they are a serious club and they don't want to be held ransom by a player.
Bro, part of the reason that I think that they're very well within their is to dig in their feet for the wanted, whatever it is. We're living in a world where Nicholas Jackson is being priced at 80 million, guys. Like, if 80 million gets you Nick Jackson, like, Isak is 160 then. Because he's the player Jackson is. Like, that's just reality. He is twice the player Jackson is.
Rasmus right in, I'll 40.
Yeah, right. I see that fully linked to Rasmus this morning because Lukaku out for like 3 months.
Yeah,
oh, to tell you, we get old. Lukaku is 32 years old.
Yeah, boy.
We know the spot with Ras coming out of Belgium. That is how we know the spot.
Everton, yeah. He was.
Yeah, we know West Brom Lukaku, yes.
We know all the West Brom. And this one. Yeah, boy, crazy, yeah. All right, well, on Aston Villa, guys. No, well, still, do you all want to say there about Isak, how this whole situation is evolving?
I agree with you, but what I had to say is like, at what point, if you to me, at what point, what point are you proven as Newcastle by keeping him? Because you're not going to play him. He's not going to play. You have a team that wants to give you an exorbitant amount of money to buy him.
No, but I think he would play. I think he would play though.
I genuinely don't think he would. And to me, it's like, I personally wouldn't play him, but I'd sell him. Get rid of him. You're getting so much money. Go and find another striker. The team is not. They're making it seem like if this is the be all end all, Isak, they're gonna die without Isak. They have a great team outside Isak.
Yeah, but
replace him.
Not Isak though. That's the thing, eh? Like
that's not the problem. Yeah, but Isak wasn't Isak when they bought him. Isak scored 5 goals and so say that. They made Isak what he is right now. It's not to say like they bought him elite and go and do it again. If you are an actual big club, go and do it again. But to me, yes, it's not justified the way he's behaving, but get rid of him. If you don't want to be here, let him go. If you are Newcastle, let him go and you'll do it again. That's to me the sign of a big club.
At the end of the day, it is holding back their season, as we saw this weekend. Because, I mean, let's be honest, right? Newcastle and Villa are 2 of the clubs that we looking to make you sell again next year. And the longer that Newcastle delay solving this, they'll keep dropping points. We now talk about previewing the game next week. And outside of the emotional aspect of it, it's hard to see Newcastle beating Liverpool next week. Because you're asking yourself where the goal is going to come from. And I rate Anthony Gordon. I appreciate Barnes. I appreciate Ilanga. I appreciate Murphy. But without Isak being the center point of all that, you don't expect. And there is nobody there. Like they should have done how we saw over the line. Like that is like the truth is they should have done how we saw over the line. On Villa quickly again. I had Villa in my top 5, dog. I don't know what it is I watched this weekend. Because outside of Onana, everybody on that side play like they forget how to play football.
Yeah, boy.
Nobody connect passes, none. Morgan Rogers got from boxing off every challenge last year. So he could not shimmy one man this weekend. I want to know what I was watching. But I saw Villa was linked to signing somebody today. I can't remember who it was.
Gisan?
No, the Gisan already signed. It was somebody else, but I mean, I think Villa have space to still do more personally, because like in the attack is only Rogers, Gisan, Marlon, and Watkins. Like,
and they sold Ramsey to Newcastle, right?
Yeah, they did, and I think that there's still space for them to. And to be fair, I think Villa have done well in the market amidst whatever PSR issues. They have to keep their squad together, because again, though, I think the squad, regardless of how I may feel about Emery sometimes, like I think that squad is just super talented, bro. I mean, you talk about Rogers, Tielemans, Onana, Watkins in their midfield, go forward. Like that's a lot of very, very good players. But what I saw the weekend was like a bunch of strangers play together. And like Consa is somebody I rate highly, But I don't know why he didn't just let Anthony Gordon go past him. He's done past you, though. Why? Like, I just always think that is common sense, bro. Like, why would you ever put your hand on a man once he done pass you?
It'd be like a rush of blood to the head or something.
Yeah, boy. How do we? All right, cool. Let me move on to sides that we more care to talk about. So, quickly, Tottenham Hotspur, first word on the Frank. It's well documented how much I rate Frank and Richarlison, and kudos by is the man who's stealing the headlines. Richarlison scored a bicycle kick on his second goal. And I think, like, going into the season, a lot of people thought, like, and even like Patrick mentioned it, that he think like Solanke is going to be somebody to call for. I mean, now if Richarlison starting, so he may maybe get a chance to get lucky in this. So, like, just real quickly, what did you all take away from Frank's first game in the Premier League as Tottenham head coach?
No, really good. With how Tottenham was, I felt like from the signs that they made, we all had Tottenham up there in high regards. It's with kind of expecting that they expected them to have a positive season. I was kind of surprised too, like with the midfield, because I felt like the midfield was kind of like not much experience there. But I felt like going up against Burnley, I felt like Thomas Frank wanted to had those faith in those players. But when you're looking at the likes of the fact that their son left the club and everybody thought about how Spurs would be, it's a World Cup year, and Richarlison, how Richarlison's be to wear that number 9 shirt for Brazil, and Richarlison just always just get these.
Point actually, though.
Yeah, Richarlison just always just get these magical powers when they come leading up to our World Cup, and I feel like there's nothing surprising from the quality that he has.
You know what, Virgil? Given that you make that point, everything I say about João Pedro heading into the season, we're going to just auto fix it. I tell you,
Richarlison. Hey, Richarlison is one of those people that you can never predict. You can never predict with this man.
Hey, fair enough. Anybody want to say? Obviously, I know Burnley didn't look too good, but
yeah, bro. Tottenham look real good, but I don't know how to feel about them playing good. No, I have them doing very well this season, but
me too. Yeah.
Burnley was so bad.
Yeah.
Burnley looked so bad. It's very hard to tell how good Tottenham was. Burnley was abhorrent.
Yeah.
Burnley looked so bad.
I think next week will be a real good week to get a barometer of where they are, because next week they play City, right? And there's two things that combine together that one has favored both Tottenham and Frank, and two has not favored City over the years. So we'll see how those two things combine, because Virgil will be the first one to tell you that Spurs and City is always a bad mix. And also, Thomas Frank has managed to get some decent results against City in his time in the Premier League. In fact, I remember it had a year that Brentford was the only team to do the double over City. I think that was in 22-23, something like that, Virgil. But so I think that one will be more barometer, but like I think he has so much more organized, and I think like when you watch, Brentford is one of them teams in the league that is lose somebody every year, and they still go on to do really well, right? He lost Watkins heading the year before they went up to the Premier League. Then he had Ivan Toney for 2 years and lost him, and now he would end up losing him Buemo. And we saw, but my point is that like he always manages to make these attackers perform really well. And it doesn't have to be like the set system, but he knows how to platform these men to get the best out of him. So like, we talk about Richarlison, kudos. There's a possibility that English attacking midfielder might go there, but until he did that as confirmed, I refuse to even speak about it because it will burn everything in my soul. To see that man wear white?
He's a Spurs player.
Shut up, Virgil.
You can see it.
And Odegaard and these guys, like I do think that he'll platform them to do really well. So we really look to next week. But as we mentioned, City just off Virgil, all they went towards, and I'll be real honest with you, after I watched that day, if it had a space for 21st team, Wolves would have been 21st dog. That was some of the absolute worst football I've ever seen in my life in a row. And mind you, they had like this 10-minute period where they actually troubled City. They actually had a goal ruled out for offside, rightly so. But like, dog, these men giving away the ball outside the box altogether. And it was like just watching Lamb City slaughter, like just waited for them to get killed off in that moment. So, Virgil, as our City fan, why you tell us what you thought about the first, I guess in some ways new looking City with obviously all these new signings, but yeah, what
Yeah.
did you take away from the game?
I mean, while watching the game, I was trying to figure out who are all the players that Wolves lost. I know they lost Aiden Nuri, and is it Aiden Nuri and Cunha, or is there anybody else of significance that they
That's the
lost?
two. Well, they also lost Nelson Semenyo, sorry, which I know some people might not think is a big player. And I'm not going to say that he is, but he's just been a big part of the dressing room for years now. He's been at Wolves for like a long time. But yeah, it's really Nuri and Cunha. Dog, also, it's 2025, bro. How is Jose Sa still in there, that dog? Like, that's some sabotage as far as I'm concerned. But yeah.
Yeah, I felt like there's a feeling around the entire prime that they know Wolves is going to struggle and Wolves is going to be in that relegation battle.
Yeah.
Because just from how that game played, from like 90% of that game, you really felt that you just been back and forth having the argument of, is this just because they're playing City, or is this how Wolves destined to be for the rest of the season? And as you know, just early days in the Premier, so we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But going more to City, I feel like there is a little rejuvenation there. Yes, so you could see from Pep also. You can see from how his play style is, and he has also did mention that how in the transition when they went back the ball, he wants them to be a lot quicker, which was very surprising to see. Before they weren't as quick, in the attack. And surprisingly, you see, like the new signings that came in, they were able to just gel and they were able to just slot in. The preseason they had was really one, and just they had the Club World Cup. But everything seems to be ticking for City. Everything seems to be falling into place as of right now. So still, again, I will be the City fan to always say it's still Wolves, but everything still look good. So we're going up against some the next 4 games or some.
Put the 3 points in the bag, Virgil.
Yeah, that's all I matter.
Spare me, dog.
That's all I
Spare me,
matter.
dog. Spare
But I
me.
mean,
Yeah, but hear this, right? I want to ask you this, right? And
yeah.
then the two of them could say what I want to ask you them too, right? Many people was saying like, hey, can't wait till Chucky starting and whatever, right? And the name that people have been mentioning most to get dropped from this lineup is Bernardo Silva. However, I am of the belief that Bernardo is going to play a whole lot and a lot more than people think. And a big reason I think is that is one, we have seen over the years Pep Guardiola say, as long as a player is unhappy, he is free to leave. That rule has always applied to everybody except Bernardo Silva, who has spent year on year asking to leave, right? Also, he has just become captain. And I think like when you watch the 11, that he might feel like Walker is gone, KDB is gone, that he might have lost some seniority. Rudy has continues to be a bottom of the barrel centre back. And so like he might feel like he needs some seniority in the team. So tell me, do you think that everybody gonna get a dream midfield of Rodri, Reinders, and Chucky, or it gonna have to be a mix of someone else with Bernardo Silva?
Oh, I can tell you right now that will never happen for the season because Pep has a certain players he likes to rely on. I was honestly surprised that he gave Nico Gonzalez a start and had him play the full game. But I am somebody looking at the new rejuvenated midfield. I feel like there's no place for Bernardo Silva in that midfield. But he did play all right. I really had nothing I could complain about.
Obviously, Reinders totally sure, right? I mean, he had an amazing game, truthfully. And I have been of the opinion, or they're underpaid for this man. And I do not understand how they only paid 50 million for him. He has showed up in the UCL for AC. He has been one of AC's top performers until that Conceição fella come in and lost his mind and push Rangers backwards to facilitate João Felix, the most ideal footballer of all time. The man was having a season of his life, That obviously Reinders totally sure. And I mean, I see that man score a goal with his left foot, and I was like, I have an attacking midfielder who left-footed, and I didn't even think he could score that. I said last week, though, Virgil, and I think that there's also an emotional gap in the City side with KDB leaving. Do you have any concerns about that at all for the season?
Well, you have that concern there because, as I mentioned on the last part, there's always been a core, and I felt like when we had new players coming into the team, they were able just to just attach to the core players that was there. And you know that De Bruyne was a big figure there. So a lot of players say that's a big presence missing from the dressing room, especially if certain games where we're behind. People always look to De Bruyne to kind of inspire the team moving forward. So that will always be a concern because I felt like we have a lot of players and we're really trying to rejuvenate the squad. So we're trying to hope that a lot of the new signings could hit the ground running and also keep their form. So they did the first part during this game week. So you hope that they could keep that form, for the rest of the season. But you have to always, have somewhere like De Bruyne leaving, and you felt like you could have get some more years out if you see the likes of Gundogan and Bernardo still in the team.
Hey, that's right. All I can say now is after you say all that, if it is at any point you complain about lack of leadership in this team, I'm going to just play back this clip where you're going to be like how KDB was not going to be missed, right?
Write it in the book.
But what
Write it in the book.
But what I say not going to be missed. The man obviously will be missed.
Okay, cool. Let me move on now. If all you want to say anything about the City Wolves game, like I said, dog, it was Lamb City Slaughter, dog. Like
City beat Wolves with TD. It was just Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. After so you know what's something that I missed over right on Saturday, right? No, this wasn't Saturday. This was Sunday. I am somebody who I really do appreciate Brentford as a club, right, dog? And we ain't really gonna talk about them too much, but like Forest obviously beat them up, right? Dog, being real, I think if Leeds, Burnley, and Sunderland, obviously Sunderland Saturday season amazing. I should have won the Xhaka jersey. Leeds, Sunderland, and Burnley take the season serious. I think between Brentford and Wolves, there's a gap for two of them to stay up with it. The two of them just need to take it serious because Wolves look horrendous. They look like the worst team in the league, and Brentford, I feel like maybe it really might have been just too much loss for Brentford, dog. But no, that man was 3-0, don't like that in it.
Yeah.
Like that, and it really concerned me that, a hallmark of what Brentford was over the years was they had this defensive solidarity now. And I mean, like, I know they lost a lot of players, but boy, going down so 3-0 down so fast, that really had me worried. That really had me worried about them this season.
Yeah, facts.
But that being said, like I said, Sunderland went 3-0 last weekend. Shaka high, my boy, back in the Premier League. And what is going to say?
So your point, I'm not going to say, you're talking about teams that could go down in that gap. West Ham have real problems.
Yeah,
West Ham have real problems. If they continue playing like how they play against Sunderland, all credit to Sunderland. Sunderland looked like a proper Premier League team that could fight their way to staying up. But West Ham,
they feel like a Premier League team. They feel like a Premier League team.
Prem heritage is real. I don't care what anybody says.
It's just real, dog.
The stadium atmosphere.
Mind you, I had them going down because, I never actually believe in... The only time I ever believed in the teams that came up was the Huddersfield, when it was Huddersfield and the other two, I can't remember. But Sunderland looked like a proper team, and West Ham looked like they just came up.
So I watched the game start to end, right? Dog, and I probably saw it as long as Aston and Sunderland not playing at the same time. Every single opportunity I have to watch, but dog, I go to watch it, right? If all you had, so I'm going to tell all you, the player who lost the most duels over this weekend participated in this game. Who all you think it was? In the Sunderland West Ham game, who all you think it was?
Paqueta? No, it'll be a defender.
No, it's not a defender. It's actually not a defender.
Who strike for West Ham, boy?
Just no.
Is it Bowen?
Nah, it's not Bowen.
Okay.
No, Bowen. That game real good. And then I drop right off, dog.
Yeah.
The answer, guys, is Nicholas Fulcrum. The man won 0 of 9 ground duels.
Bro, this man was so bad, I forget he played.
Yeah, I tell you, that man was so terrible, I forget.
And he won 3 out of 10 aerial duels and committed 5 fouls in the process, dog. I remember this man was coming to the Prem, and all the hype behind it was like, hey, watch how he got to the top Barclays.
Yeah, I definitely didn't say that. I
No, it wasn't you.
definitely
It
did.
wasn't you.
I actually did.
Was
I ain't gonna lie to you. He was one of my like not breakup players because but players that come into the league and I think they're gonna do great. I think I actually said that last year, first
Yeah.
episode
He
of the
looking like
season.
he looking like an ex-Kamaka, like this guy making the league though.
Yeah,
yeah,
the
but
immense thing.
me like tell you though, I still don't believe it's come back talented though. That man just
Same.
succeeded in prep though. But no, that man used to look so good, man. Anyways, moving
Silky.
on. I am purposely leaving this United Arsenal game for last, right? Because that all that we here, we had to get the people something to look forward to, right? So next up, why we don't talk about the Big Six side who actually dropped points outside our Big Six flash this weekend? And it was Chelsea FC. They had a goal to start the game. According to the rules, it is correct, but it's one of the things we don't really want to see. But my dog as they score a free kick was disallowed. And the game went on to finish 0-0, right? And look, we had the pod last week, and Virgil, you had Chelsea second and Patrick had Chelsea third. And obviously you all went into the season feeling very high about them. So why don't you tell me, coming onto this game, what you felt the most disappointed with Chelsea?
Well, for the full game, I wasn't able to catch the full game, but I felt like we look at Chelsea during the Club World Cup. Well, during the Club World Cup, I felt that they had this endless reserve of energy and they just constantly had this firepower there. But after a while, they felt, no disrespect to Crystal Palace, but you felt that they were going to be outdone by Crystal Palace for this game. It felt like it would have eventually swing to Crystal Palace' favor, and they would have been the ones likely to get the 3 points. But I felt like Chelsea, they didn't raise any alarms, honestly. But I felt that they were just, from how we hyped them up at the beginning of the season and how it felt for them going into this first game week, it just felt very disappointing because they felt like they had a lot of the firepower there and just nothing was firing. Call it, maybe it was bad luck, maybe on that day, maybe good tactics from Crystal Palace, but I feel like first game week, small sample size, we'll see how things go for Chelsea.
Obviously Brandon sent me notes and he said that Palace were great, which is why he had them as a surprise team. But he said Chelsea's not running up to the level at all. Individuals played really poor outside of the defenders, and he said that he thinks that Chelsea can have a striker roller coaster, but that it'll benefit them that between Delap and João Pedro that they will share minutes, right? Mm-hmm. However, I would have said this even like Pat Brandon was on the pod, but and this is why I found it hard to put Chelsea higher in my predictions, is that I just feel like Chelsea team a big part of this just feel like it's a lot of really good ideas that is really just come together if you're playing career mode. Like in career mode, you sign all the high potential men, right? And I promise you, I'm not saying this to be disrespectful or to get memes or whatever, but it's Chelsea signed Byron Gittins as an example, right? In career mode, don't hear that pop off one time now because that man is naturally gifted and should become one of the best wingers in the world. He is so good on the dribble, But come to the Premier League now, and obviously there's going to be an adjustment period. And I feel like Chelsea does that across the board. And you look back and you see this 1.5 billion spent by Chelsea. And you should not watch a $1.5 billion squad and have one player that everybody would have the consensus is one of the best players in the league. And that's Palmer, Outside of that, Caicedo, yeah, he's up there. But then after that, it's a bunch of good players, a bunch of decent players, a bunch of players who still finding their feet in their career. Not one all they could sit down here and tell me ends up best position. Not one all here could tell me let's see a lightning storm season by Delap or by João Pedro or by Neto. Neto had 3 league goals last year or 4 league goals, something like that. They're bringing Gittins now. They can even tell me what goals Gittins had because he didn't have that great of a season last year. They're looking to bring in Garnacho too, who's somebody that you all actively try to get rid of. I feel like it's so underwhelming, and you would think that they just won the Club World Cup and they win, what was it, the Europa Conference League, and they should be pushing on, and you see the amount of money they spend. So then you look at the team and you expect to see multiple players in that 11 that would plug and play into every team in the league. But like, I am objectively here to ask you all. I'm a City fan here. I know obviously you all had a bad couple of years. But like, when you watch like Arsenal, City, Liverpool, outside of Cole Palmer, who could you undisputedly say gets into those other teams? You know?
Yeah.
I think maybe like you could argue Caicedo for Liverpool, you know, and I think that's fair. But like outside of that, like it's a hard argument to make, you know. And all you can tell me if I being real harsh now, but after all these years, all this spending, they finally reach back in the Champions League. Throw your weight around, sign whoever you want to sign. They link to all these men, but then the men that they get is a bunch of men who still have to prove themselves at the highest level, you know. And I completely get that they want to sign men in a certain age bracket or whatever. So we have real players who's fall into that, you know, that they're still not signing. You know, as an example, right? I'm not saying that he's the best player in the world or whatever, right? But City was about to sell Savinho to make room for Rodrigo, right? Because Rodrigo is on the market. Chelsea wants a left winger. Why are we not seeing Chelsea going after Rodrigo then? You know, somebody who at least has proven to do it in the Champions League year on year. You know, and been part of a winning team and stuff like that. And I just use that as an example, right? But I'm somebody who's on the upper shelf of the talent, not somebody who's still raw. So again, you know, the floor is up. You have to tell me if I'm being like super harsh or not. But I just feel like at this point of what the Chelsea project is supposed to be, you should be seeing more than what we're seeing now. You know,
I think you're spot on. I wouldn't say being super harsh, but the problem with Chelsea to me is that they're not buying towards a future project. They're buying just purely off a resale value at this point. And if you want to progress, I feel like they will reach a ceiling like Newcastle. And if you want to progress, you have to start making marquee signings. You have to make, even if they're over 25 years old or whatever, you need to sign established players who go in to take it to the next level. And that's why I thought they were going to do this window, because Enzo laid a real good foundation last season. But again, they just been signing young players who not necessarily going to better your 11. They're going to better your squad. They're not better in your 11.
To follow your point, right? This summer, they signed two strikers. Right? And they have every loophole in the book to unlock the infinite spend glitch, right? And fair play to them. I'm not upset about that.
They're the best accountants in the world, dog.
Isak is on the market. So why they didn't sign Isak? And Isak is 26. It's not like to say Isak is some old man. Isak is 26. Why they not in for Isak then? Yeah. You know? Because what's going on at this point, right? Isak clearly needs to go. We all in agreement that, you know, it looked like it's not repairable, whatever, right? He clearly needs to go. Chelsea clearly has the money. The Liverpool problem is seem like they don't want to come up to what Newcastle asking for. This is like the easiest thing for a club who has infinite money to just go up there, hand them the money, and get the player. All of a sudden, the conversations we were then start to have about Chelsea is different. Your partner, Isak, with Palmer, and that is a whole different proposition. And it doesn't, and as you say, it feels more like if Chelsea buy to have this resale value of players. And I'm gonna use an example that I don't think it doesn't necessarily like make the point I want to make, but like is the only one I have right now. Is that like they obviously sold us Noni, right? They make a profit on Noni, right? I am not the biggest Noni fan, and I'm gonna pretend that I am, right? But again, us signing him, and this is the first time on camera on this podcast I'm actually acknowledging the fact that we signed this man, right? And in signing him, I obviously went and compared him against a lot of the players that I would have wanted us to sign, right? And all this man underlying metrics suggested that he was a bit unfortunate with how the execution went this season. But like his underlying metrics against Neto, against Buemo, against Cunha, against all these guys was really, really high. And all those players I would have wanted us to sign in those roles, you know? And so it says to me that he's actually on the cusp of breaking out. But instead of keeping him, somebody you'll groom for years, you got a chance to sell for profit to then go and sign somebody who's raw, to then develop them, and then probably sell them for profit, to then go and sign somebody else who raw. Like, somebody tell me if I'm missing something, but that doesn't sound like a club that wants to actually go on and win the biggest trophies in town. You know? That sounds like Brighton. And that might sound extremely harsh, bro, but That sounds like Brighton. And after, now that I say all this, Sally got get Real Madrid better, but tell me that's not what Brighton does do.
Do you all think though there's something? To be honest, I agree with you all say. Do you all think though that there's something to be said about the fact that they literally just finished play football? They didn't get the preseason everybody else gotten. I mean, anybody who like Jenny talk football, I mean, no, I hate the fact that men playing so much football. They just finished Club World Cup, which everybody was really the clubs at least, everybody was taken seriously. And all they really get was 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, they probably rested 2 and then start back training again. I think there's something to be said about Chelsea going into a little funk for a little bit to start the season until they catch a rhythm. I have Chelsea probably, I can't remember, but probably in the top 5. But that is purely based on them being generally better than the teams that I have under them. So yeah, they might lose to the teams that are the Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, but to me, they're generally better than the Newcastles, the Aston Villas, the United, anybody else you would have underneath there. But I do think that the amount of time they had the off-season that they were supposed to have is going to affect them a little bit, which lead to them playing a game and they was devoid of any ideas to score a goal against Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think, I don't know if we might see it with City down the line. I do think that we're going to see some ramifications physically from this Club World Cup on these players. And that's not even hating, bro. I think that's just inevitable. Like, these players' bodies could only do so much. And like, you could tell me, I sure like you wondering this too, right? But like, what kind of season Rodrigo in and have, bro? It does feel like he was rushed back to try and get him up to speed for next season, get injured in the process. Does that mean that they rush him back again? You know, like that kind of thing. And this constant football, it got have an implication on these guys. But that being said, you all have anything else you want to say on Chelsea? I think Chelsea playing like West Ham next week, so it should be a easy game. But you all tell me now, anything else I want to say on Chelsea before we go on the Arsenal United game? No? All right, cool. Nice. Moving it along. On the next thing now. All I want is find Robert Sanchez in your goal, bro. Like, come on, bro. All right, cool.
We can laugh about that one by
I laughing because that's the way to cope.
Yeah, correct.
Arsenal won at Old Trafford. The third time on the Arteta, which is like if I tell you, like there's always the space to talk about Arsenal and trophies and whatever. But something that I am eternally grateful for this man is how, like, you see Big Six games, dog, I have full confidence in us winning games in it. And it's more like a shock. Well, not a shock, but it's more disappointing when we draw. When there was a time in my life, dog, I would have been grateful to be going to Old Trafford and Anfield and whatever city, just call it wrong, to come out with a point even, But Arsenal won at Old Trafford this weekend via a Calafiori header off of a set piece, set piece again, ole. But it was truthfully a very low quality game. I think that United did come out of it with a good bit of positives, and I think Arsenal tried things that didn't work out, but I mean, that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to talk about those things. So it would be wrong of me not to ask you guys, what y'all took from the game. Obviously, y'all would feel like this should be a reset point and a start of a new season, a whole new front line that, you all only got to see for like 15 minutes, but there's obviously heavy investment there. So, Nikhil, I'll ask you first for like a general way to take away from the game.
I honestly, as a United fan, I don't mind losing like that. For a very long time, United have been playing against Big Six teams and easily turn over. I could accept losing. Losing is not the problem. Yeah, you want to win, but sometimes it's how you go about it. And I think generally United was the better team yesterday. Not that I'm harping on the fact that Yeah, I mean, Arsenal is better than us, however the case is. Arsenal expected we're going to do more. But I think in comparison to last year, we should have a lot more effort, a lot more impetus. Cunha looked good, Mbeumo looked good. I think even the fact that even the pivot that we're so scared of, they weren't as bad as we probably saw beforehand. I don't know if that's because of the preseason. People men are a little bit more accustomed to what is expected of them. But I think we look much better, and I hope it is a sign because we could go to Fulham and get turnover really and truly. Fulham look much better than us because that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years, especially last season. So it's a good start, not points wise, but in performance. And let me see if we could try to do it again.
And specifically on the attackers, again, obviously didn't score, but it did feel like there was a lot there to be encouraged by. What was the stuff that encouraged you the most from United going forward?
Not seeing Garnacho and Højlund in his
Hey!
That was an instant plus, bro. No. Rabs aside, they look. I mean, Cunha and Mbeumo, we know what to expect from them. There's two ballers right there. I think anybody who's saying different, they on shit, right? But I was just pleased to see energy up front and actual shots. 20 shots. Last time we take 20 shots was that 8-2 game, how much ever years ago, right? Well, 20 shots against Aston, I think. But the fact that they were just trying the goal more, they were getting into space more, taking on men more. That is not what we were seeing last season.
I had 3 points.
And kudos. Whilst I would say I would agree with the Kiel. I would agree with the Kiel United. It was the better team. I still don't think we created enough clear-cut chances. We didn't say we had no big shot one-on-one.
The Mbeumo header, bro.
I thought that was in, boy.
Again,
honestly, I thought that was in.
Again, dog, if it had a line, I first in line to be a David Raya hater, dog. I is not funny, man. I will always say that, right, dog? And the city man value, whatever. But you see me, dog, I've always had this apprehension against keepers who are under 6 feet, dog. That is some woke thing. Because see, that's the only man I ever see do that has fully impressed me, dog. Right?
Yeah.
Right. On the other hand, I feel like he always stretching to read something, and that has fret my soul, dog. Right? However, the man had a good game. He had a good game.
No, facts. Facts, bro.
I fully agree with what he's saying, and I kind of actually want to retract something I said last week, and this gonna make me sound like one amateur dog and one casual. For whatever reason, I thought Cunha was left-footed, right? I see all the bangers this man scored last season, thought he was left-footed, right, dog? And I'm watching this game going on, I was like, wait, he taking real shots this here, right foot, boy? What going on here, boy? And the whole reason I was saying that I didn't really see how he would have meshed with our front three, because, like, on the left side, playing off the left foot, he wouldn't get that much chances. He had to get to be free roam and whatever. Let me say now, dog, Cunha is the man I fully believe is going to be United's player this season, dog. I gotta write that down in the book when we're done here, but he's going to be United's player this season, dog. He's going to be so good. And I'm gonna tell you something, right? I have come to, despite what Aidan might think, because Aidan will be on the pod that much, right? I have come to appreciate Bruno, right, for what he is, right? And I think a big part of why, like, Bruno has grown to be more influential, even like in big games, I think, is because I think his persona has grown. That United is a big club, and that means that there's an impetus on him to perform in bigger games, And I mean, I know, like, obviously Europa League final wasn't that good for him, but, like, one of my favorite ever Bruno games was that FA Cup final, right? You won it all, you win. And I say all this to say, to play at clubs like United, you need to be able to feel the weight of that badge on your chest, dog, and feel unaffected by it, and play at your level. Cunha did not care that his debut, that is against Arsenal, is whatever. That man play his football, dog. And I think, like, obviously some things didn't come off, but he showed the personality and the desire that he's going to make this move work. And I don't know if that means that he'll be the top scorer or top assist or whatever, but he has the X factor to make things happen in that final third. And while I think that maybe his goals might go down from last season, I think his overall impact is going to be there for United this season. And as you all said, I think there's a lot of positives to take from it. I didn't feel as threatened by Embuemo as Cunha made me feel on the day. I think Embuemo, like you could have telegraphed what he was going to do, whereas I think like Cunha, anything was possible when he had touched the ball, boy. You know, like I think Embuemo, we knew that he was looking to cut in and get that shot off his left foot, and it made it a bit easier to defend. But like with Cunha, boy, I think like he was an X factor whole game. On the Arsenal side of things, it was not clean in any way. I think like you could have see that the performance level from key players, and I am somebody who would always say that I think players like Rice and Saka is above criticism, and in general speaking, I will continue to always say that because of how much they drag us out of everything. But I don't think that they were of the level this weekend, and they are two like pillars in the team. After the game, I was very harsh on Odegaard. In reflecting on the game and like watching his all actions from the game, I think this final ball was abhorrent, but I think he picked up in ways that you ask a captain to pick up a game when other players not performing. I think defensively he did a lot. He brought the ball out the back a lot. Again, the man final ball was abhorrent, but outside of that, he had a decent game. But I think it's just a lot of things that come together for Arsenal that accompanied by United really executing their plan well, that made it hard for them to perform on the day. I think I watched a breakdown on the game this morning, and one of the things that the person highlighted was like these usual cues that the striker is used to trigger the press. Gyökeres doesn't have it all the way there yet. That made it a lot easier for United to build out from the back. Something that United did over and over and over again was diagonal balls to the wide players. And because like Arsenal, everywhere else in the team is pushing up the press, is meaning that there's 2v1s in the wide areas and made it easy for United to come out. That's something that he'll get better with over time, hopefully. But what was on show was Arsenal's ability to dig in. And I said this on the pod last week. I think Arsenal have the best defense in the league. I was standing by that. I fully expect that barring any ridiculous injuries that they will have the best defensive record at the end of the season. Again, a big part of that is Gabriel. I thought this man just played first 90 minutes off doing hamstring surgery and playing that performance, dog. Like, absolute units in the back line. But just switching back to United, obviously, there were some instances in this game, and so I kind of want to get like all your feelings on it, how Olia, if Olia think, Olia was robbed and stuff like that. So the first one would be the goal. My position is that when you watch everything play out, it just looked like it had a lot of contact going on in the box, and the referee on the field let it be. And my general position when it comes to referees and calls and stuff is that like I don't necessarily care. I know not everybody might agree with me on this, right? I don't necessarily care about letter the law and whatever. I just wonder if you are allowing this side to do this, the other side needs to be able to get to do it. And if it is that you are walking with this level of leniency for this side, just give it to the other team. Fair play, wrong, no matter where you set that bar. And I think like when people talk about, surrounding the keeper and whatnot, we saw United even do that to Raya as well. I just think like one keeper was just stronger on the situation than the other one, and obviously one resulted in a goal. And so that is my position on it. You all can let me know what you all think about the goal itself.
Yeah, that's a foul, bro. There's no way you
Get
could.
stronger, bro.
You could. No, mind you, I'm not buying the fan. I find he was very weak. That being said, there's no way. And I don't even mind surrounding the keeper. Throw him off. But you can't lean into him without trying to go to the ball. And your hand cannot be on his hand. That is not how football works.
Are you not seeing that Mount is pushing the man backwards? Like, my thing is, this is just part of it in the sense that, like, dog, a man pushing the man into the goalkeeper. Where would you like Saliba to go? Because Mount is pushing backwards. Saliba backwards. Like,
Bravo. That is a foul. Every day of the week. Twice on a Sunday. 3 times on a Monday.
It clearly not on a Sunday because the game happened on a Sunday.
Therein lies the problem. Therein lies the problem. That is a foul.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, again, as I say, is the leniency he allowed then? I think United was afforded the same leniency on the one where Raya had to come out and punch it. Just the difference is one keeper actually get and punch the ball like a man, and the other one was weak on the punch. Because he did get his hand hit. He just didn't punch it properly.
Again,
And
I think he was weak. I thought he was very weak. But I still do think he should be able to do something. But that's not here nor there. That's not. Yeah, we lose on that, but just as I blurry. Once they keep the same energy for the entire season, I'm not going to mind.
No, but that has always been my thing, though. It's like once we keep it consistent across the board, I would say.
The funny thing was, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say the funny thing is, right before the game, I saw the article where they talk about enforcing
contact in the box, right?
The contact with the keeper, and it happened. And I was like, all right, now we're going to see if they actually doing it. It's like that.
No, but dog, even on the goal, you see it, Gabriel trying to attack the ball, and this is short to the man and pull them to the ground. And it's like, dog, contact in the box. Like, while I fully get, like, was the what they trying to do, I just think, like, dog, remember, these players are taught their entire life. Like, not just keeper in general. Get touch tight to your player. And what does end up resulting is dog men is in a push and bump into one each other. And so then now the onus is be on the defending team to do their best to keep the attackers away from the keeper. And that has always been fair to me, because again, my other disposition is dog. At those days, I was upset about it. They told Arsenal, get stronger. When it is dog, Douglas, so we score a corner against Arsenal, and I had to see McGinn wrap his hands around Ramsdale and pull him to the ground. And Douglas, we score a corner, and they allow the goal. They say, oh, well, it was too soft then, get stronger. You feel now I can care, bro? Like, I'm fully aware that you all are the victims, and listen. But understand where I come from, I was the victim of this for so much years. You feel I going and care now? Because half the problem people have is that Arsenal gone from being the 20 side, the small, diminutive attacking playmakers all around the field that could I get bullied. So nowadays he was bullying everybody, dog.
All right, Stoke. All right, okay. Yes, Stoke. All right.
Why I got momentum, so bro? I was going trouble with that. The other one though is that the Saliba one in the box is the one that people felt more upset about. I think when you slow it down, you do see that Cunha in the streets and the contact. However, what I would say is that if it was given on the field, I wouldn't be upset. If it was given in real time, I wouldn't be mad. But I do think you see that Cunha kind of like throw himself towards Saliba. And that,
a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so like that one a little harder to call. But I do agree that United do come out as giving more positives. As for Arsenal, I do think that it is more a case of how fast the new players can get up to speed. And I do think that even like in the transitions, because like there's this highlight reel going about like there's like 3 minutes long of like transition opportunities that Arsenal had that they wasted. Again, I think that you can see that Arteta is asking this team to be quicker, be more direct, be faster. But like with that, you also still need the intelligence. And I feel like with Odegaard at times, with definitely Martinelli, and with like even like Gyökeres understanding his teammates, there needs to be a better development of understanding, which I do hope comes. But unfortunately, Arsenal want to be winning the title, and they have Leeds this weekend, who did win this evening. But they have Liverpool after that, then they have Newcastle, then they have City in the next 5 games. So this is stuff that they need to sort out fast. And again, with all due respect to United's new signings, the way that Arsenal got away with giving away the ball and so many transitions they did, City and Liverpool not going off here that same kind of thing. So it's areas that Arsenal obviously have to improve in. Virgil, you ain't say nothing for this whole thing. You want to say anything?
Oh, well, I'll just let know what we're talking about. Because the only thing I have to just say about the game is that was a display of probably the two worst midfield players I ever see. This was the midfield play.
No, well, I agree,
from
right?
these two teams. Except
I agree.
I had to give it to Zubomendi though. He was kind of all right. But
actually, I was gonna give credit to Casemiro.
Casemiro had a monster game.
Yeah, no, you had a really
monster game, bro.
However,
by his standards, but boy.
There's one other thing I wanted to say that I forgot to say is that like something that I think Arsenal have needed to develop for the longest while in order to win this league is that there's going to be games, and like we've seen this with City over the years, we've seen this with Liverpool. I remember last year Liverpool got to Bournemouth and get peppered left, right, and center by end up winning the game, right? Is that they need to be able to win games that they don't play good at. And this is only last season, only once at Arsenal win a game last year where they lost the XG battle. Every other game they created more, whatever. That also happened today. And obviously you don't want this to be a habit. But the teams that do go on to win the league does find ways to win games. And set pieces is one of those ways. If this is something that continues over the next 6 games, I will come back here and talk about it being a concern. For the first day, again, at a ground that no matter, you know what's that a good one, boy? 20. Only win the league 2013, right? 2014, dog. Well, it was the 2013-14 season. United in the world of trouble, I seen their way on them boys, whatever. Come to Arsenal. We actually played real good leading up to this song. And we still lost the game 1-0. And like United, yes. And this is just one of them teams, and Old Trafford is one of them places that logic to just go out the window for Arsenal. Like, I know it have other sides that got to take advantage of United barriers. For whatever reason, Arsenal can't seem to do so. So you know what, boy? If it is all, if I offer me 3 points, dog, and one of the worst performances out of the window already, I would have to take it.
Because I feel like that's one of the only positives I could see from that half performance. You know,
that and Calafiori. I know Calafiori actually had a really strong game, even outside of just the goal.
The only worst, come looking at the both teams, the only worst thing I saw from your careers, trying to be a striker, is Martinelli. And Martinelli is very frustrating to watch. My goodness. I can understand why. I hear
this, right? You to get frustrated to watch Martinelli. Imagine trying to support Martinelli. How frustrating that is, though.
That front three is just 3 players with 3 different ideas. And and Martinelli is just trying to think of how to be a footballer on the fly.
The bicycle was so funny.
No, boy. The one that fried my chip that made me realize this game wasn't going to be it was when, I don't know if he had win the ball or somebody gave him to him. We on the counter, right? 4 men on the counter. So call it 3 men back. This brother tries some kind of chip pass in the middle of the field and said, oh, they're playing. Yeah. And I can't only that. I was sitting down right here watching the game, Jordan, here next to me. I was like, yeah, boy, this just not going to be that game. This is not going to be that game. Because, what?
Yeah.
Like, dog, he needs to go to the bench at the very least. It's not out the club. But, on the predictions part, I told you guys that the left side going to be Arsenal downfall this year. And that is what I believe. And
again, that's the problem. You're supposed to buy a left winger years now, and you're not addressing it. You're only studying to buy the same midfielder 5 times. Yeah. Buy a left winger.
Who's the same midfielder we buy 5 times?
Bro, Marino, Zubimendi, all these players are the same player.
No. Zubimendi is what he said they have.
Understand what I'm saying though? All these midfielders, you could put them in the same.
However,
technical. It's the same player, bro.
I agree. One problem going into the season. They finally adjusted.
Why you don't go buy Rodrigo?
Just so I'm trying to find my Arsenal credentials. Can you ask me like if I walk?
No, it's your fault. It's your fault. You go buy Rodrigo.
All right, I'm going now. I'm going outside him now.
Can't get a Forex down here, bro. So, there you go.
Yeah, true.
I agree. I see today Ademola Lookman deal falling through Inter. Bro, at this point, dog, all they can offer me anything. I'm taking it to the pause. But all they can offer me any left winger. Dog, at this point, am I even in a position to say no to Garnacho?
Come on. Yeah, just an easy 40. What do you want again?
Chelsea wicked, dog.
Let them outbid each other.
Them value the man at 30, dog. Like, And Omari Hutchinson
No,
moving for like
I just
40 and thing. That is mad.
And
no,
then
but
Colin,
for his word,
80.
I don't
Yeah,
think
pleasure.
like I could tell you before, like years gone by, that I don't think it's because Arsenal being stringent with the budget and whatever. I don't think that's the case this year. I genuinely believe it's because
Yeah,
they're
man,
taking
so-
an eternity to sell these men in it. Because it has 7 men in this team who not going to play this season in it.
Zinchenko,
Them
he's
need to
still-
go. And the problem is,
Yeah,
so much of them is like specific types of players that like you had to want the specific profile to get out. Like who might dog? You see, dog, this is how I get mad in it. But dog, take this Zinchenko, brother, right, dog? The man got offer from Fenerbahce to go and play midfield. Who else in this world offered you a chance to go and play midfield after you play left back for the last how much years? You get a chance to go and play midfield. You were sure if you want to go. What the jail is this? Why are you fed up here, man?
Sancho
What are we
vibes, dog.
doing here?
Yeah.
That's
Them
why
and that's for the
saying,
salary, dog. Them and that's for the
dog,
salary.
that is
And then
so
say not on brand.
infuriating, why, honestly. But
I'm serious.
and that's just one example now, but like him, Trossard, Nelson, I see Kyrgios might go, which I think that the Kyrgios sale is the type of sale that I have been begging Arsenal to make for years. You
Yeah.
get a man, you raise him to a level, he's a squad player, sell him now that he can make profit, dog. That man just, you could go in every boardroom and be like, well, you know, last time we checked, he lock up Mbappe and Rodrigo, and I say, you know what, dog, that's a 45 million, right? Like that kind of thing, that money.
Yeah.
Don't Chelsea just be scamming 20 million for men who never even have paid
No.
the Premier League, boy.
Liverpool just scammed 25 million for Doak. Who's Doak?
Who's Doak?
Who's Doak?
I don't understand.
And we can get a little 20 for Anthony, dog.
Where is Anthony?
In exile.
Yeah, boy. Hey,
They
like
call
you-
him the bomb squad. He, Canacho, Sancho, Onana.
But yeah, boy, I do think if we sell, man, we'll try to sign somebody. But the problem is the window closing. Like I said, the window of opportunity is closing. There's like there's layout, there's so much players that all have their issues and their potential ups and downs and whatever. But at this point, I don't care at all. Like I need something different. I am at a point where if my left winger completes a dribble, I am surprised.
Yeah.
Like, dog, that's how bad it gets in it. Like, if he completes a dribble, I am surprised, dog. That's not good enough. It on. That's all. Call wait. Let me get this list real fast, right? Give me 1 second. After this, guys, we gonna take the break and go. Like we going off the wheels here a little bit, but that's okay. I need to get this list for you, and then you're going and tell me what you think, right? Right. So I gotta call out a player and Martinelli, right? And you're gonna tell me who better, right? You're gonna notice a trend as we go down here, right? But you ready?
Yeah, is the other player.
Cunha and Martinelli.
Cunha.
Yeah.
Doku and Martinelli.
That title about Doku.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay,
What does
do
actually
it,
beat the man?
Yeah, Doku bias a little bit.
Marmoush and Martinelli.
Mamouche.
Pedro Neto and Martinelli.
Neto, yeah.
No, that's not
Gakpo and Martinelli.
Yeah, Gakpo.
Kudus
sure.
and Martinelli.
Kudus, for sure.
Hudson-Odoi and Martinelli.
Yeah, you would say Hudson-Odoi too.
Mitoma and Martinelli.
Mitoma.
Anthony Gordon and Martinelli.
Gordon.
Barnes and Martinelli.
Damn boy. They're arguable, but you could still argue Barnes.
Morgan Rogers and Martinelli.
Morgan Rogers.
Semenyo and Martinelli.
Easy.
Eze and Martinelli.
Yeah, Eze. Damn.
Iliman Ndai and Martinelli.
That one arguable, but I can
This
see
people cool, like
the whole league.
No, that was killing me, though. He could only league in order, you know, dog.
No, you can throw Jack Harrison over Martinelli.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, dog. Like, we are reasonably asking Arsenal to compete for a league title with a man who is comfortably above relegation quality left wing.
Yeah, he
That
had
is-
like
that is what we
one
talk
standout season, I think, bro.
Dog one. And the thing is, dog, anybody can tell me nothing about system, about left overlapping fullback and midfield and whatever, you know, dog. That will stop the fact that the man cannot dribble a man or carry, dog. Every other person who plays left wing over this man does display more IQ than him, you know. It don't matter who it is, you know. All of a sudden, men just talk about how, Bartley asked a ugly touch, whatever. But you know what Trossard play, Trossard is getting positions to score. So what really going on here, right? However, guys, with that being said, that was a lively little end to this part of it. So for those who are on YouTube, you'll check us back on Wednesday. Everybody else, just hold on for a bit, and we will be back with this week's game. So stay tuned.